Good afternoon. A slight mix-up. I am Nikima Jno Baptiste, the CEO of Digicel. Firstly, I wish to commend the government of Dominica for convening this forum and acknowledging the opportunity that we have here today. This is the first milestone in a long road ahead in achieving the vision, Dominica's vision, of becoming the first climate resilient country in the world. When I received the invitation from the good cabinet secretary, I spent quite a bit of time reflecting on resilience, a word that has been utilized continuously since the passing of Hurricane Maria. In my primitive research, I found over 30 different definitions. Google defines resilience as the capacity to recover quickly from adversity. Merriam-Webster defines resilience as the ability to recover from or adjust easily to misfortune or change. Dictionary.com defines resilience as the power or ability to return to original form, and the list goes on. The commonality in all is that resilience requires a positive internal dynamic to address a negative external factor. Short story. Days after the hurricane, after conducting reconnaissance for our network and what would soon become our extensive humanitarian efforts in the Southeast, after seeing our lush mountains littered with what appeared to be matchsticks, this is still fairly emotional for me. After seeing the hills dusted with remnants of what was once laughter-filled, warm homes. After seeing, speaking, holding hands and praying with our people who were despondent because they were in the dark, physically and metaphorically, I returned to my office, which at that time was my home, that's where I lived, and I cried. I cried on my husband's shoulder. I cried because my heart, my spirit was broken. As the Prime Minister referenced, I was on my knees, along with my team, our people, our country. I felt like we, Digicel, had let them down when our country went dark, albeit for a very short time. However, it was at that specific moment in time when I wiped my tears that I vowed this would never happen again. It was at the darkest moment that I looked internally within both myself and Digicel and found our capacity, ability, power to rise, to be resilient, not just for that day, but for the future. So when we heard the Prime Minister's call to arms, we were right there with him. As the #1 full-service telecommunications provider in Dominica, the general expectation would be that we focus solely on technology to ensure resilience. However, coming from our chairman's very short visit after our darkest night, he saw a country in need and committed to ensuring Dominica would rise in majesty. He empowered us to utilize the resources of Digicel, human and otherwise, to ensure that we, our team, our nation, recover quickly and are positioned positively for the future. Resilience as it relates to Digicel goes much further than the technological solutions. We consider the application, the redundancies, the risk, the benefits, the change process, the mind shifting. Do you know that studies show that the better we apply change management, the more likely we are to meet our objectives? As PROSI indicates, poor change management yields a 15% success rate, while excellent change management yields a 94% success of stated objectives. And let's be clear, what we have begun undertaking is a paradigm shift, which will impact all aspects of our continuous life cycle. Change management must be an integral part of the process. What Digicel is calling for is a fundamental change in the way we do business. We have available the innovative technological solutions and dynamic expertise to propel Dominica, businesses and consumers forward in a resilient manner. By example, through ensuring that business continuity plans are in place through redundant solutions. However, if the mind shift is not undertaken now to understand that the way in which we protected our systems, issued subpar SLAs, ignored global trends and standards, If we do not appreciate what we had before Maria swept it away was obsolete, if we do not appreciate the opportunity that has been presented, like a phoenix, to rise from the ashes, to upgrade, diversify, evolve, we will never be in a position to claim we are truly resilient. We commit, as we have continuously demonstrated, to partner with the government of Dominica and her people to work through this change, proposing a three-phased approach as defined by ProSci. Phase 1, preparing for change. As we're doing here today, working towards clearly identifying the change needed to reach our end state of becoming the first climate resilient country in the world. What does that look like? What does that feel like? What are the core deliverables we wish to achieve? Who will be impacted and in what way? What are the provisions that we need to put in place to support, and so on? Phase 1 necessitates discussions, collaborations, importantly, the capacity, the ability, and the power to put nation before self. The second phase advances us through changes, as described by ProSci's ADCAR model, by creating the communication, sponsor, training, coaching, and resistant management plans, integrating change management and project management, executing the plans to drive adoption and usage. This is where the rubber really meets the road. And setting objectives that have the highest probability of implementation because they're specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Ensuring that they do not sit like bookends on a shelf collecting dust. And the third phase, reinforcing change, focuses on sustaining the change over time, measuring performance and celebrating success, identifying and addressing root causes of resistance, transitioning the project to day-to-day operations. In closing, with direct reference to building the world's first climate resilient country, our collective responsibility, we are at the starting line of a marathon. However, we cannot run this race how we have done so previously. Our collective responsibility is crystal clear. We must commit to move away from what was and embrace what is and will be through declaring it is no longer business as usual. To the Honorable Kelver Daru, Minister of Information, Science, Telecommunications and Technology, P.S. Lucian Blackmore, and Mr. Bennett Thomas, Director of Telecommunications, along with all your colleagues within the ministry. We also take the opportunity to applaud you for having recently issued the request for proposals for a rebuild of government telecommunications, voice, data, and ICT services in the Commonwealth of Dominica, in response to the severe damage to the island's communication infrastructure, network, and ICT services. The issuance requires being commemorated as revolutionary towards driving Dominica into the 21st century, as well as attaining the vision clearly set forth. Thank you for the opportunity to submit our proposal for consideration to enter the future together. To the Honorable Prime Minister, thank you for the opportunity to present here today. Once again, I pledge the full support of Digicel in working with you, our government, and our people to ensure Dominica never again suffers as we did on September 18th, 2017. Thank you.